met Paul Heyman when we were in, before Continental. Before we went to Continental, we went down to work in Atlanta for, I forget who it was, but we went down to Atlanta to work for somebody, and I met Paul. Paul was there. He had drove from Atlanta, and I remember he was such his gimmick, you know. He was Paul Heyman, you know, or Paulie Dangerously, and he was such his gimmick. And I remember I just fell in love with him, and we went to eat dinner at Waffle House or Shoney's or something that night, and Paul's talking, and he's doing his all talking, and I just fell in love with him. And so Eddie had gone off and was working somewhere, I forget, but me and Paul would talk on the phone every night. I mean, this was back, I used to have like $400 and $500 phone bills back in the day, you know, when you had to pay for long distance, you know, back in the 80s. And then I had friends everywhere, like, you know, I introduced Repo Man to his wife. She was a friend of mine, and I introduced him, and so I'd be calling her, and, you know, call my mom, you know, call everybody. So I had large phone bills. But me and Paul we would talk on the phone and talk about wrestling and angles and what we would do, and he'd tell me stories how he got fired from Minnesota and just everything. I loved Paul. And then when Eddie got the opportunity to go to Continental, Eddie didn't want to hire Paul. He thought he was too brash and stuff. I was like, no, you gotta hire Paul. I want you to hire Paul. So he hired Paul. And Paul lived with us because we had a house in Tennessee at the time, and then we had an apartment in Montgomery, and we got a 2-bedroom apartment, and Paul Lee lived in one of the rooms. He was our roommate for a while.
What do you think of him? He's done pretty well for himself.
Oh, he's done great for himself. Yeah, I would. Yeah, that was easy. I knew he'd become a superstar.
What was up with that Heyman Hussle episode that you did?
Oh my gosh. Well, I moved back. I left New York City and moved to Tampa, and then I moved back to New York, and then Paulie told me about he's doing this Heyman Hussle thing. Do you want to do it? So he's like, yeah. He goes, I just want you to talk the whole time. He goes, I'm going to try to interrupt you, but just keep talking. So I was like, talk? Me? I can't do that. I'm like, yeah. Oh, yeah. My friend Cindy's over there going, shh, yeah. I can talk the whole time. My good friend Adrian, we drove from Gettysburg to Tallahassee, and I kept her up the whole night, and you know, the whole 18-hour drive. And she goes, I can drive anywhere as long as you talk. And I'm like, I can talk the whole way. I'll talk the whole time. But yeah, that's what I did. I talked the whole time, and that's what he wanted. He just wanted me to talk, and so I was coming up with stuff off the cuff, you know, like, oh, there's Derek Jeter. Oh, here's this. Oh, here's that. I mean, I don't know where I got it from. I was just talking. It's my ADHD. It just lets me talk.